Hey, what's up, guys? Combat Critic here. Let's take a look at this upcoming fight between Khalil Rountree Jr. and Azamat Murzakanov. Let's get started. If we take a look at the records of these two guys, starting with Khalil, so Khalil has 18 fights in total and he has won 12 of his 18 fights, lost 5. If we talk about his 12 wins, he has 8 of them via knockout. So this man is primarily a knockout guy. More than half of his wins have been knockouts, and he has no submission wins and 4 wins via decision. If we talk about his 5 losses, he has been KO'd twice and he has lost via submission once, and he has also lost twice via decision. And besides this, he also has won no contest on his record. So pretty solid striker, not a lot of submissions. Now let's talk about Murzakanov. So Murzakanov has 13 fights in total and he is undefeated right now. He has won all 13 of his fights. If we talk about his wins, he has 9 of them via knockout. So pretty similar to Khalil, and he has 1 win via submission and 3 via decision. So both these guys are primarily strikers. Now let's take a look at some of the physical and career stats for both these guys. Starting with the height. So height is 6'1" for Khalil and it is 5'10" for Azamat. So a 3-inch height advantage goes to Khalil. He is the taller fighter. Weight will be even at 205 for both these guys unless somebody misses weight. The reach is 76 inches for Rountree and 71 inches for Murzakanov. So a huge 5-inch reach advantage goes to Rountree. If we talk about the stance, both these guys are southpaw stance fighters. And talking about the age, both of them are similar in age. Rountree is the slightly younger fighter. Now let's take a look at the career stats. Starting with the striking numbers. First up, we have the strikes landed per minute. Now this signifies the number of significant strikes that you land on your opponents per minute. On average, this is 3.73 for Rountree and it is 4.57 for Murzakanov. So he will have a huge advantage here. He is hitting his opponents more often on average compared to Rountree. Next up, we have the striking accuracy, which is 38% for Rountree and 57% for Murzakanov. So again, a huge advantage goes to Murzakanov. He is more accurate with his strikes. Next up, we have the strikes absorbed per minute. Now this is the opposite of strikes landed per minute, and this signifies the number of significant strikes that you absorb from your opponents per minute on average. This is 4.17 for Rountree and it is 3.12 for Murzakanov. So in this case, the guy with the lower number has an advantage because he is getting hit lesser. Again, the advantage goes to Azamat. Striking defense is 50% for Rountree and it is 57% for Murzakanov. So again, the advantage goes to him. Overall, in all the 4 metrics that we have seen, Azamat has an advantage in all of them and it is a pretty substantial advantage. Now let's talk about the wrestling and the grappling stats. Starting with the takedown average, which is 0 for Rountree. Rountree has never gotten a takedown in the UFC so far, whereas for Azamat it is 0.75, so he has a slight advantage. Both of these guys don't really use ground game a lot, but a slight advantage goes to Azamat. Takedown accuracy is again 0% for Rountree. He has never gotten a takedown in the UFC, nor has he attempted one. Whereas takedown accuracy is 16% for Azamat, so he has a slight advantage. Takedown defense is 56% for Rountree and it is 83% for Azamat, so again the advantage goes to Azamat. Submission average is 0.1 for Rountree and it is 0 for Azamat, so Azamat has never attempted a submission, whereas Khalil has a slight advantage. I'll not say it's a huge advantage. Both of these guys don't really use ground game or wrestling. The fight will mostly be in the standing position and we have seen that Azamat has a huge advantage in the stand-up. Now let's talk about the significant strikes by position for these two guys, starting with Rountree. So 86% of all the strikes that he throws are from the standing position, 8% from the clinch and just 7% on the ground. If we compare this with Azamat Murzakanov, 66% of all his strikes are from the standing position, just 8% from the clinch and 26% on the ground. So the difference is Azamat uses ground game, he uses ground and pound more often than Rountree. And now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target. Starting with Rountree, 59% of all his strikes are to the head, 20% to the body and 22% to the leg. So he uses leg kicks pretty often. Now let's take a look at Murzakanov. 67% of all his strikes are to the head, 27% to the body and just 6% to the leg. So Rountree uses leg kicks more often, whereas Azamat uses body. He goes to the body more often. Both of these guys have pretty similar stats when they go to the body, but a slight advantage goes to Azamat, whereas in the leg kick department, Khalil has a huge advantage. He is going to the legs more often. Now let's take a look at some of the previous fights of these two guys, starting with Rountree. So Rountree in his last fight beat Chris Daukaus and he finished the fight in the very first round by a knockout. And before this he beat Justin Jacoby. He won the fight via split decision in a 3-round fight. Jacoby was actually ahead in terms of the number of significant strikes landed. A lot of people are calling this fight a robbery, but the judges gave a split decision win to Khalil. Before this, Khalil beat Carl Robertson and he finished the fight in the second round by a knockout. He got two knockdowns over Carl Robertson and one of them led to the finish. Before this, Khalil also beat Bukauskas and this fight he finished in the second round. And before this was his most recent loss, which came against Marcin, and in this fight he lost by unanimous decision. Marcin had a huge advantage in terms of the number of significant strikes landed. It's a pretty solid guy, a lot of knockdowns, a lot of KO wins. Now let's take a look at Azamat's record. So Azamat in his last fight beat Justin Jacoby and he won via unanimous decision in a 3-round fight. He got one knockdown but could not finish the fight. Both of these guys had 1 takedowns each. Before this, Murzakanov finished Devin Clark in the 3rd round via knockout, and he was massively ahead in terms of the number of strikes landed. And before this he beat Tafon in this fight. He finished him in the 3rd round via knockout. And before this was his debut at Dana White Contender Series, where he won the fight via knockout in the very first round. So Azamat really has just 4 fights in the octagon, not a lot of experience, but his stats look solid. And if I have to pick a winner, I think I'll go with him. He is undefeated right now. This fight will mostly be in the standing position. I don't think any of these guys will shoot. And we have seen in the standing position that Azamat has a huge advantage over Rountree. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.